And we are going to continue to be at the waterfront of Oslo. But some of you might be familiar with the library in Alexandria, which was the first famous project made by the architect office Snøhetta. And now, Camilla, you will tell us a little bit about the iceberg at the Oslo waterfront. Camilla Moneta from Snøhetta.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited about being here in Istanbul for the first time. And it's been great to meet very friendly Turkish people. So I'm looking forward to a weekend here. I'm going to present to you one of Snøhetta's most important work, which is the Oslo Opera. And I'm sorry I have a manuscript, so I will not be able to look you into your eyes all the time. Snøhetta has two offices, one in Oslo and one in New York. And as you can see, we work quite... Where's my presentation? Oh, here we are. As you can see, we're quite happy to be situated by the harbor. To the right is Oslo, and to the left is New York. We are about 130 people in these two offices. We really prefer to work across the disciplines. And we work always in teams. It's very important to us that we always work in teams. And that's the way we get things done in the best way. We are very international firms. We have 20 nationalities within the office. And when I'm going to talk to you today about urban transformation and responsive architecture, I'm going to emphasize three issues. First, it's the relation to landscape and a given place. Secondly is the notion of monumentality. And lastly, that of social values as a driver for architectural solutions. I'm going to talk to you about the Opera of Oslo, but first I will just introduce to you the first project of Snøhetta, which was the Library of Alexandria. One of Snøhetta's strong design philosophies is that of incorporating landscape as a phenomenon in architecture. This library, that was the competition was won in 1989, and it was completed in 2001. And the Library of Alexandria, as you know, has a very, very strong historical reference. This historical reference was transformed into an architectural language, illustrated by this section. The building connects the water and the sky, and this symbolizes the historical reference to the past, the present, and the future. The horizon can be considered as the unit of the present, and the section becomes a mediator between the past, under, the present, and the future, above. And so here is the drawings of the buildings. It has 20,000 square meters of open reading space, you can see in the section here. Its glistening, tilting roof recalls the Alexandrian lighthouse and provides the city with a symbol of learning and culture. Historical and cultural reference was presented in the stone wall that was engraved with characters and symbols of all countries and periods in historical times. The building does not only have a historical reference to the site, but also a social response to the place. We believe a building should have a positive impact in its community. Therefore, employees' rights and welfare were put into the focus, so the tender documentation was designed to ensure contractually fair, safe and equitable working conditions on site. And there were no fatalities during the building process, which of course it shouldn't be. Also, successful interdisciplinary collaboration and a number of different international teams developed the local competence in the local community. This helped generate a feeling of extreme belonging in the different project teams to both the process and to the project. The local community has taken ownership to the library. And therefore in 2011, when the revolution started, there was a spontaneous human chain that was formed to protect the library. Once Snøhetta, more than a decade later, began designing the Oslo Opera House, this building also was seen as a mediator between the sea and the sky, between the city and the arts, between building and space, it's a hybrid building, a hybrid between buildings and space, between the opera and features of the public landscape. The competition program asked for monumentality. The term monumentality is often understood as a rather vertical expression of power and elitism. Snøhetta wanted the project to be a gift to the people, a place that gave something back to the community. So it was decided to establish a monumentality through a widespread, accessible, multi-planed horizontality. And by creating an urban landscape without any commercial agendas. Snøhetta evolved a complex program into a simple general plan that integrated practical and intuitive sculptural approach to modeling the exterior shape. Its low-slung form became a link between the city rather than a divisive sculptural expression. A connection to the land and the sea, a public platform, arises from the fjord. There were four main concepts developed early on that formed the building and the landscape. It was that of the threshold, the factory, and the carpet. The threshold was a boundary between the land and the sea. It was a symbol that Norway's shoreline was a threshold between Norway and the world, and a threshold between art and everyday life. We envisaged that this threshold was the place where public met art. This threshold was called the wave wall, which you can see up in the right-hand corner, your left. I think I went a bit fast. And the next was the concept of the factory. A fully developed building for an opera and ballet is a working space for 600 people, and a fully rational factory housing all necessary functions for 50 professions, and it has 1,000 rooms. It was important that the rehearsal rooms, had nice views out, but also on ground levels that the rooms had views in for the public, so the public could actually see production that was going on in the factory. So this just shows a quite simple building up of the quite complex program of the opera, where we have an internal opera street. We have the public areas and the halls and the stage areas, and at the back, the factory with the workshops and the changing rooms and rehearsal rooms. Lastly is the carpet. The competition expressed that the opera should be of high architectural quality. It should be monumental. Monumentality in architecture arises as a synthesis of several conditions. That is, an institution or idea that is worthy enough to manifest itself, a monument, a destination, not just an object. The Opera House created a large public space in conjunction with the city and the fjord landscape, and the cultural with its own inner life. Snøhetta created the vast sunlit blanket, a sloping landscape overlaying the rational opera's various functions. The opera is an institution in a modern society. It should not be something elitist or exclusionary. In our society, there are few institutions, ideas, or values that people believe should be celebrated via monumental expressions. But one idea stood promote, namely the concept of community, joint ownership, easy and open access to all. A strong Norwegian or Nordic idea or notion. To achieve a monumentality based on these notions, we aimed to make the opera house accessible in the widest sense, in that the roof areas be designed as a blanket of horizontal and sloping surfaces on top of the building. We would make this rug great and beautifully put together. And we would give land back to the city. The opera has revitalized an area of Oslo and attracted to the building citizens that would normally not approach high culture. Thus, the opera building itself is bringing art and city closer together. This commonly owned territory, the commons, is to a degree a reflection of the principles of equality and affiliation, often associated with the social democracies of the Nordic countries. This is a social responsive notion reflected in a building. And these are the stage towers that comes up through the carpet. So I've been talking about urban transformation and responsive architecture. I've talked about a building that becomes a physical expression of a historical context in Alexandria. And in Oslo, I have showed a building that maybe becomes a physical expression of values held high in our present society. I have talked about a landscape which is a mediator between the sea and the sky, and architecture as a mediator between the city and the arts. An accessible, open and inviting landscape, and a building that transforms the urban area. I've talked about maybe redefining monumentality. And perhaps I've shown you a hybrid building, shown you a hybrid between buildings and space, between the internal functions and the public landscape. We believe that architecture can bring people and arts closer together. We believe that that architecture is creating an ownership of the people. And we believe that building a monument is about giving a gift back to the society. So to finish off this little presentation, I will show you a picture of maybe the greatest commons of all. And this is where the office goes every year. It's the mountain that we take our name from, and it's called Snøhetta. And thank you very much.